Hi, welcome to this part of my review featuring the Legends of Avallen core rulebook. If you haven't seen the other parts of my review, featuring this Celtic mythology inspired fantasy role-playing game, please check out the playlist in the description below. This time we are going to talk about 3 more legendary paths: the Gladiator, the Magister, and the Maleficus. Let's start with the Gladiator. In Raxian society, gladiators are celebrated performers who often accompany a legion to bolster troop morale and train elite soldiers. The Valak have a long tradition of settling conflicts with one-on-one duels to avoid the bloodshed of many, and have recently adopted the title Gladiator to describe those that excel in this kind of diplomacy. The Gladiator is a path shared by the River and Warrior. The Gladiator's fighting style thrives on flourishes, which are gained by combining actions and exploits and succeeding on your checks. You can spend your flourishes to disarm foes, become tougher, and chain attacks that end with a vicious finisher. Gladiators have specialized knowledge in showmanship and injuries. Some of your legendary trials include: win a fight in front of 1,000 spectators, visit a sacred location for gladiators. Let's talk about flourishes. During a conflict, you use your gladiator abilities by spending flourishes. You earn 1 flourish whenever you declare an action against a different foe since last round, or when you succeed on a check. You may spend your flourishes at any time, even after an action has been declared, but not during a check. Your flourish counter resets to 0 at the start of your next turn. You also lose all your flourishes if you fail a check. With these flourishes, you can enact deadly dances that add to your weapon damage and armor rating. You can also carry out brilliant disarms. And perhaps you can develop mastery abilities such as Lanista. Spend 1 flourish to have an ally in your space gain the same benefits as you when you spend flourishes until your next turn. Then we have the Magister. The Raxian people have a weak connection with the other world, so they are more comfortable with logical and reasoned magics, their Magisters being prized officials for both politicians and generals. Whereas in Valak culture, Magisters are seen as obsessive or madcasters who use unnatural powers to beguile their enemies and enchant their allies. The Magister is the unique path of the mage, and studies spells to make them more powerful. Magisters raise the complexity of spells in novel ways, such as using magic without moving or dual casting spells. Magisters have specialized knowledge in spells and philosophy. Some of your legendary trials include: find a Magister artifact, or teach magic to a legendary leader. Let's talk about study points. As a Magister, whenever you finish a long rest, you have 5 study points that you must set or lose. To set study points, choose a spell and raise its complexity in a particular way by how many study points you choose to set for it. Note down that set spell and how you raised its complexity. Do this until you have no study points left. Any points not used are discarded. The number of study points you have after a long rest increases as you learn new abilities. You have 6 when you learn Silent Spell, 7 when you learn Split Spell, and 8 when you choose Whip Spells as your mastery, though it is instead reduced to 6 if you choose Signature Spell as your mastery. With the use of your points, you will be able to increase the number of targets a spell allows for. You will also be able to ignore disadvantages when you raise the complexity of spells. And when it comes to mastery abilities, the Whip Spell Mastery ability allows you to raise the complexity of a spell to combine it with the effects of another spell you know of a lower listed complexity. This will allow you to carry out combinations that seem contradictory according to the laws of magic. Then we have the Maleficus. After the Raxian people rejected their gods, their other world became a desolate place, home to unshapen spirits. As such, the mystical arts that involve it have been pushed underground in ataraxia, and those that are accused of learning them are shamed with the title of Maleficus, or evildoer. Even for the Balik, calling upon spirits that have not been shaped by the Ever One is taboo, and the known Maleficus is dealt with warily. Shared by the Reaver and the Mystic, the path of the Maleficus plays with the unshapen spirits of the other world, those that have been rejected by the gods. You are able to bind these lost spirits to characters, items, and locations, so that they exert their will on them forever. Maleficuses have specialized knowledge in unshapen and curses. Some of your legendary trails include Best Another Maleficus, or Best a Legendary Spirit. Let's talk about Bind Unshapen. Your Maleficus abilities allow you to bind a limited number of Unshapen to targets. An Unshapen remains bound until you unbind it, after which you may bind another. You can use your action to unbind an Unshapen. Through these Unshapen spirits, you will be able to jinx, hex, and hunt places, objects, and your enemies, of course. This will allow you to weaken them and hamper them in all sorts of ways. And concerning your mastery abilities, perhaps you develop astral projection. You can spend 10 minutes to commune with an Unshapen you bound to see what it sees. You can spend another 10 minutes to unbind it and teleport yourself and everyone touching you to its location. So that's pretty cool. You can use an Unshapen spirit that is far away to teleport yourself and your allies to its location. This concludes this part of the review. In the next part, we are going to take a look at other legendary paths. I think these 3 legendary paths are going to be quite useful in battle. In the case of the Gladiator, you are an expert when confronting several enemies at the same time with your flourishes, and you are also a team player. You can share your bonuses with your allies. When it comes to the Magister, yes, you are perhaps the most powerful spellcaster outside of magical specialization, that is, you are not completely focused on manipulating the thoughts and feelings of others. You are not specialized completely in changing your shape, but when it comes to being creative and combining different effects of magic and manipulating the same spell in more ways than one, nobody exceeds your proficiency. And the Maleficus is the perfect debuffer. Through your hexes and curses, you will be able to face many different difficult opponents and enemies and take them down a notch or two. Thank you for watching this part of the review. If you have any comments or questions, please let me know. And thank you so much to those of you that have been supporting the channel by sending drive-thru RPG gift certificates. If anyone else wants to further support the channel, the information on how to do that will be in the description below. Once again, thank you, and see you later.